So if it's your first time script supervising, you may have seen other videos on YouTube and other bits of advice from people online. And in my experience, it's often like too vague, or it's targeted towards people who are already professionals, or it's just completely unhelpful because it's just content made by people that aren't script supervisors. My name's Duncan. I get paid to work on film sets as a script supervisor, and I've done so for a number of years all across the world on a number of different formats and a bunch of different countries in a variety of different languages. And I started in the same place that you might be at right now. Just my first day on a short film with zero prior experience. So if you're a first timer, here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to explain what is expected of you as a first time script supervisor. I'm going to explain what kind of equipment you're going to need, and I'm going to break down all the basics so that you're ready to crush it on your first day of your first production. This is not a guide to become an absolute pro. If you want that, then there are plenty of expensive multi-day courses that you can take. A lot of them are quite good, but this video is for someone who is fresh to the job and eager to learn the basics. And that being said, there's plenty of things I won't be covering in this video. If you have any questions, you can ask a professional if you know any, or you could leave a comment, or you could DM me directly on Instagram. Now, before we get started, I make videos like this all the time, and they're all completely free. So if you want to help me out, let me know you like the video by liking and consider subscribing. Now, for pre-production, first thing you're going to want to do, obviously, is to read the script. Your job is not to memorize the whole script. That would be ridiculous, but you do have to have a pretty good grasp on the story so that if you're on set and someone comes and asks you a basic question about the story, you should be able to answer any question pretty easily, or at least know roughly where to look in the script in order to find an answer to their question. You need to give it a read and make sure you understand the continuity. If there's any flashbacks or flash forwards, you need to understand them. Make sure you understand all the really key scenes, because you're going to be the go-to person for anyone who has questions about continuity. Now, the next part, a script supervisor isn't always asked to do, but if you want to go the extra mile and be extra helpful, maybe helping out a friend and you want to really do them a favor, I would recommend doing a scene-by-scene breakdown for pre-production. Now, you do not need any fancy software to do this. I'm just using my laptop, but any device that can run any free spreadsheet software, that'll do just fine. So make a spreadsheet, title it, put your name on it, and you're going to make a series of columns, and you're going to make notes on every individual scene. First thing you're going to do is put in your scene number, day and night, just follow what it says in the script. Interior, exterior, same here, just do what it says in the script. Location, characters. So what characters do we actually see on camera? Exclude any characters that you hear over the phone, or you only hear as like a voiceover or whatever. Only write the characters that will actually be on set that day with an actor. Scene description. So just write a very short one-sentence description of the scene, really brief. Page number. And all this should be pretty basic, so from here on out you have to actually do a little bit of scouring. So the next one, props. What props are used in this scene? Costumes. What costumes are worn in this scene? And this doesn't have to be specific if it doesn't need to be, but if the script mentions that she's wearing a red hat, then write that she's wearing a red hat. Hair and makeup. Is there any special or specific makeup for this scene? Anything, if the script says blue eyeshadow, or if there's any blood or bruises or anything like that. Set deck. If there's any specific set decoration that needs to be in the scene. Special effects for practical effects, and visual effects for any special effects that are going to be added in post with like CGI or whatever. Now, you might be wondering, isn't most of this shit the production designer's job or the prop master's job? And yes, it is. And there's probably going to be a total duplication of efforts. And that's why the script supervisor only sometimes does this. And the reason this applies to continuity is so that you can easily look at the prop that's used in scene 10, for instance, and look back in time and make sure that it's also in scene 5. Or if a character is wearing a specific piece of wardrobe in one scene, you can use a spreadsheet to track that piece of wardrobe and make sure she's wearing it in the previous scene. There's nothing worse than shooting scene 5, realizing she needs to be wearing a hat for the scene to make sense, only to realize that she wasn't wearing the hat when you shot scene 4. This is purely an internal document. You might only show this to a couple of people, but it's just meant to get you thinking about the continuity and the timeline for all the elements in the movie. Now, a lot of script supervisors, they don't make this. In fact, most of them don't. But if you're a beginner, this will help you think in terms of continuity, in terms of the things that you can actually need to know on the day. But that's it for pre-production. On the actual day of shooting, you're going to be a busy little bee. And you've probably been told that there's a bunch of these like analog systems that you need to learn and a bunch of different programs you need to figure out how to use. But in reality, all you need is what you've already got. You need a device that can do spreadsheets in a way that you can sit and watch the camera on a monitor or something. And you're going to use this spreadsheet to make the notes for the editor. So at the end of the day, they can sit down and edit the fucking thing. And they're not just looking at a bunch of random unlabeled raw video files. Because raw video is really time consuming to spool through, and your spreadsheet is going to be like a guide for the editor. It's like if you're looking at a paper road map or a road directory. If you were told to find a specific street just manually by looking at the map, it would take you fucking forever just to look through the map manually. Your notes for the editor are going to be like the index in the back of the map that explain where exactly to find everything. So make a brand new spreadsheet with the title of the production, the date, and your name, and start by making the columns in this order. Firstly, the slate name. So this will start with the scene number. So at the beginning of the day, if you're shooting scene 4, then just write scene 4. But if you're moving on to a new setup, but still within scene 4, then you'll call that 4A. And then the next one 4B, and then 4C, and so on. Take number. Obviously, if it's the first take, say take 1. And if there's a stuff up and they roll camera and they clap the slate, but then something goes wrong and they cut and they don't actually do the scene, that's still a take. You call that a take. It's just a bad one. As long as they clap the slate to you, you consider that a take. But if they roll by accident and they don't clap the slate, it's just called a false take. And you just write that down there, that there was a false take in the technical notes. After take number, you write good or no good. Just generally the quality of the take. If it's any good, then you say it's good. If it's no good, then say it's no good. If it was fucking awesome, then say favorite. Or you can just say whatever you want, you know. File ID. This one's optional. It's not always possible or easy, but the editor will be very happy with you if you take note of exactly what the video file is named. And if you're viewing the shot on a monitor, it's usually written there, embedded in the display. It's usually pretty easy to see on most cameras. Camera card. Sometimes it will say roll on the slate, as in what roll a particular take is on. So whenever a camera card runs out of storage, they swap it out for a new blank one, and the editor needs to know what camera card has what media on it. Sound card. This is the exact same story with sound cards. Although memory cards have gotten so big and sound data is so small that they basically never need to change it more than once a day. So it shouldn't be a problem. Sync, MOS. Are you rolling sound for this one? If you are, then write sync. And if there's no sound, then write MOS. These words are both industry jargon, and if you want to know what they mean, go ask a sound person. Shot description. Write a very brief shot description of the scene for the editor. Just really quick, 1 sentence. Doesn't have to be super detailed. Continuity and general notes. And this is obviously where you're going to put notes on the continuity. If the take is otherwise good, but there's a continuity error, make sure you make note of it here. Tracking continuity is obviously a major part of the script supervisor's job, so we'll come back and talk about this more in a minute. Technical notes. Use this section to take technical notes, mostly about the slate, if they're changing the way they're shooting for this take, like if they're switching to slow-mo or something, or if they have to tail slate, or if the slate is anything that has to do with the slate, take note of that in the technical notes. Sounds notes, and this is obviously where you'd put notes on the sound. If you hear anything like a helicopter, just say you heard a helicopter in the scene. Now there's plenty of other things that the script supervisors are expected to take note of, but since this is your first time script supervising, this will be more than enough. We'll cover the rest later when you're ready for that, maybe another video. Make sure you go through and you take these notes on every single take. Every take that the camera makes should be a new row on your spreadsheet. And by the end of the day, you should have a big, beautiful spreadsheet full of notes on every single take that was shot that day. And this is the goal. This is the spreadsheet full of info, and this is absolute gold for the editor. This is exactly what they need. Now, the role of the script supervisor does not stop there. Heavens no. While the camera is actually rolling, you need to be supervising the script. Now, it might seem daunting if you're reading a script, and if it's written correctly, there should be heaps and heaps of information there. What do you need to keep track of? Well, firstly is dialogue. And this is quite straightforward. If an actor is doing their thing and they forget their line, they will call out line and you will read it out to them entirely. And obviously, if it's like a massive monologue, then you don't have to read out the whole thing, maybe only just the next sentence or two, and just get them back on track, remembering what their line is. If an actor is reading their line incorrectly, it's not as per the script, bring it up with the director, tell them the problem, and the director will tell you if they're personally fine with it, or if they want the actor to say the line exactly as per the script. If that's the case, you go up to the actor and you politely correct them. Now, the next thing to take note of is making sure the action is as per the script. If a script is very action heavy, then that can even be harder to track than a script that is really dialogue heavy, because it's easier for a crew to overlook little actions that happen in a script. Now, if it says a character picks up a pen, puts it in their pocket, but that line is buried in a bunch of other actions, then your job is to make sure that little important actions like that aren't forgotten, they're not overlooked. Especially if that pen is significant somehow, I don't know. And of course, one more thing you need to take note of is general continuity notes for the scene. For example, if an actor is doing something with their left hand in the wide shot, but they're doing it with their right hand in the mid shot, you need to bring that up because that's a problem. They need to be able to cut between those two takes when they're doing the actual assembly. So they need to be relatively identical. Now, you can take these notes on a physical script itself with a pen, or if you have a device that can view PDFs that will let you draw on them, then you can do that just as easily. You truly don't need any fancy gear. Now, one important thing you need to remember, and this is probably the most important skill of all, because it's a skill that affects all other skills, it's like a meta skill. And this is the ability to speak up. So when you're next to the director and you're amongst the crew and you can tell that everyone wants to move on, but you know that there was a problem with that last take, and you need to find your voice and point out that there was a continuity error in that last take, and you're not sure that they can edit around it. And that's why studying the script is so important. Make sure you read it as many times as you can so that you can back yourself up. You need to have the confidence so that when you bring up an issue, they know that you're not just wagging your chin just for the sake of being a know-it-all, but you're actually bringing up something important and you need to be listened to. And look at the other crew members. If a camera person who's pulling focus, they think that their focus is soft, they will bring it up immediately after they call cut. Or if an actor isn't happy with their performance, they will bring that up immediately after they call cut. And it should be the exact same for the script supervisor. You don't have to raise your voice and be obtuse and annoying, but you need to be clear and you need to be confident and you need to be able to back yourself up and explain what you mean clearly. So in short, it's a good idea to break down the script in pre-production so that you understand the continuity of all the elements. Track all of the shots of the day on a spreadsheet so you can give it to the editor. Call out dialogue lines for the actors. Flag any misread lines. Flag any continuity errors as they come up. And one thing that affects all other things is to find your voice on set. Now, if you're being asked to be there by the production, then it means that what you're doing is important. Those are the basics you need to know for your first day on set. If there are any questions or there's anything you'd like me to go into more detail on, then comment below or you can DM me directly on Instagram as well. Now, if you like this video, please press like and consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.